So what can I say to all my haters who say you are on cycle of Trenbolone, of Anavar, of all kind of shit?
No, listen. Well, we can go back. We can prove here.
I want to prove to my haters that I don't take steroids. You know?
Here is the perfect example.
Et on se retrouve devant ma clinique anti-âge qui me suit depuis maintenant 5 ans, ici à Miami, aux États-Unis. C'est vrai qu'ici c'est très courant, donc pour les hommes de plus de 35 ans généralement, et plus de 40 ans évidemment aussi, parce que vous savez que nos hormones déclinent à partir de l'âge même de 30 ans, de 1 à 2% par année. Et donc je suis suivi ici depuis maintenant environ 5 ans, et donc j'optimise mes hormones, notamment la testostérone, pour justement avoir des niveaux normaux, donc c'est-à-dire sans jamais dépasser les seuils physiologiques, et tout simplement pour vivre une bonne vie, être en bonne santé aussi, améliorer ma santé d'ailleurs. Et donc aujourd'hui je vais vraiment vous expliquer, on va rentrer dans cette clinique anti-âge et on va vous expliquer en détail ce que c'est justement la TRT, comment c'est pratiqué ici aux États-Unis, en Floride. Et puis on va voir aussi mes analyses de sang que je fais régulièrement d'ailleurs, à peu près tous les 6 mois à 1 an, parce qu'il faut évidemment un très bon suivi pour ça. On ne peut pas faire ça par soi-même, il faut des docteurs qui vous suivent, toute une équipe médicale, etc. Et donc voilà, ici c'est assez courant, donc on va voir mes analyses aussi aujourd'hui. On va avoir pas mal d'explications sur ce que c'est la TRT. Et puis aussi on va faire, je pense, mon analyse corporelle. Allez, c'est parti, let's go. Donc la première des choses ici à faire évidemment avant tout traitement quel qu'il soit, c'est bien sûr une analyse complète de votre analyse sanguine, mais pas une simple analyse comme on fait en France. Là, c'est vraiment ultra complet. Donc vous allez voir ça d'ailleurs sur ma propre analyse, on va faire ça. Ça, c'est vraiment l'essentiel avant de commencer tout traitement. Et donc après, il vous explique vraiment en détail. Les premières fois, ça a pris plus de, allez, peut-être 1 à 2 heures avec du coup le patron de la clinique ici pour m'expliquer exactement comment ça fonctionnait, etc. Évidemment, c'est normal d'avoir beaucoup d'informations avant de commencer ce processus-là. Allez hop. Bon, avant de vous présenter ici le patron, de vous expliquer un petit peu comment fonctionne la TRT, etc. On va faire d'abord mon analyse corporelle ici, donc on va voir à combien je suis. Je pense être combien? À 6, 7? Qu'est-ce que t'en penses? Bon, j'ai quand même dû recommencer 4 fois le test, je crois, parce que j'étais à 3% et 3%, honnêtement, c'est impossible. Même en compétition, j'étais pas à 3%. Donc, on l'a refait. En fait, c'est parce que j'ai perdu un petit peu au niveau de la taille. Je suis à donc 5,10. C'est 1m78 à peu près au lieu de 1m80. Parce que je me suis tassé depuis que j'ai eu mon opération aussi. Et du coup, je suis sorti à 5,6% taux de masse grasse. Ça me paraît malgré tout très bas. Donc, ce qu'il faut retenir de ça, c'est que quand on se mesure, il faut rester sur la même machine toujours. Voilà, ça peut permettre de voir son évolution. Donc, c'est assez intéressant. Mais honnêtement, si je prends la pince à pli cutanée ou autre, je sais très bien que je serai à beaucoup plus que ça. Donc je pense que vous voyez, hein, même ce genre de machine qui coûte très cher, finalement c'est pas non plus super, on va dire, fiable. Donc voilà, c'est vrai que la seule véritable façon de connaître son vrai taux de masse grasse, ça serait sur un DEXA scan. Et ça, c'est un scanner qui coûte extrêmement cher et évidemment on prend des rayons et tout, donc c'est pas l'idéal. Et sinon, pince à pli cutanée quoi. Mais voilà. Bon allez, en avant maintenant, on va voir mes analyses, les résultats. Let's go. Donc là, on voit un petit peu tout sur mon analyse composition corporelle ici. Donc là, il y a même l'eau intracellulaire, l'eau extracellulaire. Donc ici, c'est le poids de ma masse maigre. Donc là, c'est en pounds, hein, c'est 52,7. Et là, ça, c'est le poids de ma masse grasse. Ici, 11,6 pounds. Donc ça fait pas beaucoup en kilos finalement. Je crois que ça doit faire dans les 6 kilos de gras en fait, sur tout mon ensemble de corps. Donc ça, c'est mon poids. Je suis à peu près donc à 94 kilos. Là, ça fait 208,7 pounds. Et ici, le taux de masse grasse, c'est là 5,6. Donc voilà, ce que je vous disais, ça me semble quand même vachement bas. Le BMI ici, c'est l'indice de masse corporelle, je crois en français, donc quasiment à 30. Et puis là, il y a même ici l'analyse de mes segments, donc mon bras gauche, mon bras droit, etc. Pareil pour les jambes. Donc ici, on voit qu'au niveau du tronc, je suis un peu plus musclé, par exemple, que les jambes. Mais ça, c'est voilà, c'est un petit peu logique aussi avec mon opération du dos normalement. Si j'avais été vraiment très symétrique, je serais tout là. Donc on est quand même pas mal au niveau de l'analyse. Donc les amis, je vais vous présenter maintenant Brian qui est le propriétaire ici de cette clinique anti-âge et qui va nous expliquer un petit peu comment ça se passe ici aux États-Unis. So Brian, you are the owner of the anti-aging clinic here. Can you explain what you do exactly?
Yeah, we basically take our clients, we run their hormone levels, and then we try to figure out where their levels are versus what we define as optimal. A lot of people throughout the world, especially in America, right now are dealing with a hormone, I would call it like an epidemic, where the testosterone levels are declining 20% over the last 20 years, 40% over the last 40 years. And so if you take a guy like me in my early 40s, before I went to a clinic, I was going to the gym every day, I wasn't seeing results, I was putting in a lot of time and effort like I was in my 20s, and I was unable to lose weight, I was unable to lose fat, I was unable to gain muscle. And then you go to a clinic and you have your testosterone levels tested for the first time and you realize you're in the bottom 10, 20%. And as soon as we get those levels adjusted, then all of a sudden you see amazing results. So we basically analyze the hormone levels of our clients and we make a bunch of different recommendations to optimize those. And then we just track their health over time and they usually are able to achieve their health goals. So it's a great, interesting business.
And do you think it's the declining of the testosterone is because of the today's lifestyle, the pollution, what do you think?
I think it's a combination. Lifestyle, because we eat less healthy than we used to. For example, I can go buy a tomato from the store in America that doesn't go bad for 1 month. Before, when I had a tomato plant in my backyard, if I picked a tomato, it goes rotten in 5 days. When I was younger, we used to eat breakfast in the morning, we would have lunch, and then we'd have dinner around 5 or 6, and that was it. Now we have food delivery for every type of food that you want. People eat out way more. Like, there weren't so many restaurants when I was younger. I'm 53 now, so it wasn't that normal to go out to eat during the week. Maybe once or twice a month you would eat outside of the house. Now every person that I know in America is eating out so often.
What do you think? Because in France and in Europe, the anti-aging clinic doesn't exist. The TRT is very, it's like taboo. In France, you can go to a doctor and if you don't ask your blood test or they don't do the testosterone level.
Yep.
And I have clients that have like less than 300 and the doctor say, oh, it's okay, you're in the range, so don't worry about that. I can give you a stress medication if you need, or like a Viagra.
Yeah, exactly.
And but that's it. They don't want to treat them. So what do you think about that? Because in France or in Europe, they say that it's normal to decline and you have to accept that.
I think that probably what happens in Europe is similar to America. We have a sick care system, which doctors are taught how to help someone when they're sick, but they're not taught how to make people healthy. And so they're not used to having or giving their clients proactive advice on how to become healthier. So for example, if you have some type of liver disease or my mom recently was diagnosed with cancer. Of course, they're very well equipped to help someone who's very sick. But now the average guy who comes in who doesn't have anything broken with him, he doesn't have anything incredibly wrong with him, he's getting around every day, maybe he doesn't have cardiovascular disease yet, but he doesn't feel well, he's low energy, they will try to tell you that you're normal. And what you said, they do too many things based on these ranges. The range in America for testosterone is, for a male, 250 to 1100. That's about a 430% variance. I can tell you in our clinic that the person who comes in who has 250, he's dragging.
It was 5 years ago when I first came and I was like depressed, I couldn't even sleep, muscle pain, and I didn't know what happened. And we test my testosterone, it was under 200 or something, maybe less.
I think it was 150.
Wow, I felt like...
Well, it's crazy, and we have, which we'll go over. We
will see that.
We have a study which goes through a test which is done in 1996 in Belgium that stratified average testosterone ranges by age bracket, and so you can see where the bottom 5% start, where the bottom 10% start, and then also where the top 5% start.
Okay.
And so it gives you like a little bit of data to understand. So when you're at 150, your bottom 5% of all males. So how are you going to feel? You're going to feel terrible, no energy, lack of libido. You were the exception though. You were still in really good shape because some people work very, very hard.
Yeah, and also I have my GH high, so I think it helps.
That's true.
My natural
the growth hormone
level were high, so I think it's a balance.
It usually helps with injury repair and keeping the body fat percentage down.
Yes.
So yeah, you had a pretty good body fat percentage for all things considered. But yeah, you probably were dragging energy-wise, and Julian, by the way. It was an amazing shape compared to the relative person. But a lot of times also in the medical community, what people forget about is that they want to compare you versus everyone else versus comparing yourself versus where you were, right? So I always say, like, if someone came in and they had 600 testosterone, which would be right in the middle, and they had that their whole life and they felt amazing, they would still feel amazing at 60 like they did at 18. But for example, if you were 1200 when you're 18 and now all of a sudden you're 600, you're dragging. So some of it is relative to how you were. And so, and you always being in good shape, you being at 12%, you feel terrible compared to now you're 6%, which
right.
is, this feels good for you. And I'm a little similar, not quite at your level, but when I'm 13, 14% body fat, I feel unhealthy. And when I'm 10% body fat, I feel really good. So we all have this range of levels and health that we feel good at. And then, what we're trying to do is optimize testosterone so that you can achieve your health goal. And, obviously it had a dramatic, you get in better shape every time you come.
Thank you.
So he's in better shape now at 41, right?
Almost 42,
Almost 42, going on 42 this year than he was when he came like at 35 or 36. Yeah, so it's incredible.
I feel better now. You're right.
And this is where also I think doctors fail us in terms of you don't have to live your life on a downward decline. If we address your hormone levels, I look at a guy like Sylvester Stallone or even like a Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's French, right?
Belgium.
Or Belgium, but he speaks French.
But he speaks French, yes.
So if you take guys like that are taking care of themselves, then they are still healthy, 67 years old. Sylvester Stallone is 76. He still weightlifts. He still has really good muscle mass. He still has a great metabolism. So those are the people that I aspire to be like when I get up there in 20 years, 25 years from now, right? We still want to be active.
Yeah.
And as long as we live healthy and how we are now, and we have really good hormone levels, we'll be capable of doing that. Whereas people who are not paying attention to their health are going to be on a slow downward trajectory. There's a great book by a Harvard professor. It's called Testosterone for Life.
Okay.
And the gist of it means, I get out of it, is that when you realize you're low in testosterone, you have a decision to make whether you want to live the rest of your life with low testosterone and sort of drag and be on just a gradual decline,
feel bad.
or you can address the deficiency and have really good health for the rest of your life. So I think guys like us feel so much better that we want to basically stay at an optimal level so we have really good health for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people are scared about the TRT because they think that there's lots of side effects, but I think they don't know how it works. And we have a follow-up, and sometimes they compare that to steroids use, and so this is why it's hard to explain to people that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Well, there's one thing I've learned. So I had a client in here, and he was really low in testosterone. He was about 350.
Okay.
And he was worried about starting testosterone because of his perceived, side effects, right? There might be some issues. And I told him, yeah, but you're living with the side effects of low testosterone every day already.
So do you want to stay like that all your life with all the side effects of low testosterone? And also there's new study that shows that now there's no cardio.
Yeah, I saw it. There was. I just watched a video on it, and they disproved that there's a higher incidence rate of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, and back in the day it was the opposite, right?
Of course, they used to believe, well, they're all faulty studies.
Yeah, and now the studies show the opposite, and same for the prostate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here's a way that I heard a doctor lecture on about prostate cancer. So if testosterone cause prostate cancer, why do a lot of young men not develop prostate cancer? Because we have higher levels of testosterone when we're young.
Right.
We get prostate cancer when we age, when testosterone levels decline. So is it more likely that prostate cancer evolves when testosterone level is low and a result of low T, or because of high T? So there's a little bit of logic sometimes that are missing, that's missing from even the medical community. And now they do studies like this recent one on the cardiovascular one, also on the prostate cancer. It's proven now that guys that have higher levels of testosterone have lower incident rates of prostate cancer. And the one thing also, which is never going to be measured, is how many people avoid chronic illness like obesity and type 2 diabetes and hypertension because they stayed healthy, right? If you have low testosterone and you're more likely to gain body fat and you're more likely to because you have low energy.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to get in worse and worse shape over time.
And maybe get diabetes.
Too, or you become obese. And so there's no way to track the guys who have the healthier levels stay healthier.
Yeah.
So, we'll never know. Like, Sylvester Stallone, I think, is a good example, but he doesn't move like a 76-year-old. he posts videos every day that I see him, and he's walking around like he's a young guy. I think there's a lot in the medical community that, they're used to a certain protocol. And so, yes, if you're depressed, here's some Prozac. Whereas maybe someone, and there are people who are depressed, so I don't want to downplay that. But what happens if that guy who's just feeling low energy and not feeling like himself, if they ran a testosterone check on him and he was low and they put him on testosterone, maybe he avoids going on, something like an antidepressant.
Yeah.
Let's see the great progress.
So this is my results from the last. I started in 2018. J'ai démarré en 2018 et on voit que là j'avais un niveau de testo à 150 parce que je sortais de mes compétitions et j'avais enchaîné non-stop, sans lipides aussi, et j'étais vraiment à la ramasse complet. Donc j'ai décidé de venir ici checker mes hormones et j'étais vraiment à la ramasse de partout. Donc j'ai décidé de me prendre en main et de commencer avec Brian ici du coup. Et là vous voyez, dès que j'ai commencé, là, je suis monté très haut, voire même un peu trop. Parce que du coup les premières années il faut vraiment bien ajouter. So the first 2 years we have to,
adjust a little bit, right?
Adjust.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first year is a little bit tricky, right? Because we don't know what the best dosage and.
This is the whole point, I think, about running lab work, periodic lab work. A lot of people don't want to run lab work because they think that it's a nuisance. But for example, on your first test, your levels are a little bit too high. And then after that, we downward adjust it and we make some tweaks. And over time, you see that your testosterone gets sort of locked in on the optimal range. And, in addition to that, right, we have the old body comp. So we can show over here, your body fat percentage went from 12 to 9 to 7 to 6.7 to 5.6 where you sit today, which is incredible tweaking over time. One of the things that you mentioned outside that I think is important is people have a hesitancy to take testosterone because they think that it's a steroid and it's steroid abuse. The way we use it is more to put you into an optimized normal range.
Yeah.
You're the perfect example.
So explain the difference between steroid cycle and the TRT.
Yeah, so TRT, maybe someone will be taking anywhere from 100 milligrams to 200 milligrams per week. The guys who are doing a cycle might be doing 5 to 10 times that. I've seen, because we did a lot of research when we first started the practice on testosterone cycles. Sometimes they might be injecting 750 milligrams per week, which would be 3.5 times what the normal guy would take. On top of that, they call it stacking. So someone might be stacking it with a different type of steroid and they have a compounding effect, right? For guys that want to get huge, maybe that's something that works for them. Our clients are just normal people who want to have good levels and who want to have really good health. And you're the perfect, I think, like looking at your body composition change is the perfect example of the right way. You're obviously on the big side for your size, but that's because of hard work. If you look at all of your Instagram posts back in your early career, you were much lighter, and over time you're adding 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 5 pounds a year of muscle times.
It's been 27 years now.
Yeah.
I started training.
What was your weight back then? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember, but I think it was like 75 kilos, so it's, I don't know.
Yeah, 75 kilos is like about 165.
Yeah, something like that.
So
yeah.
About 40 pounds less, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about you're adding
like
2-3 pounds
ago,
a year times 20.
20 years ago, yeah.
It's simple. And even since I met
so
you.
So what can I say to all my haters who say you are on cycle of Trenbolone, of Anavar, of all kind of shit?
No, listen. Well, we can go back. We can prove here.
I want to prove to my haters that I don't take steroids.
Here is the perfect example. This is the most recent lab work. 720. Your testosterone level is 866. The range right here from Quest, our lab, is 250 to 1100. The average is about 675, and so you're above average. Now, where you have an advantage is that you have always had low sex hormone binding globulin. When you have lower levels of sex hormone binding globulin, what that does is it allows you to have a little bit higher free testosterone than the normal person might have. So a lot of people don't understand how testosterone works, but testosterone binds to proteins that carry it throughout your body. One is albumin and the other one is sex hormone binding globulin, and SHBG creates a strong bind. So if you have a lot of SHBG, more of your testosterone will be bound up and less of it would be bioavailable. You have, some people just have a little bit of an advantage genetically for whatever reason, we don't know. You can take a couple supplements like boron and actually vitamin D helps it when you have good levels of vitamin D to bring the SHBG down a little bit. But so you have a really good ratio of total to free testosterone, but you're not taking a lot of testosterone, and that's proof. You can see right here, and it's on every one of your tests. That's the other thing. Every one of your tests except for the second one, that was, I remember, due to timing, you probably had injected right before you had
I think it was like
right before you had the lab
or something like this, but back in the day it was more than now, because now I take like 0.7 cc's, so that's not much.
And I think also back then we may have been injecting 1 time per week versus
it was 1 time, and I think it was 200 milligram.
Exactly.
The first year, so I reduced then the year after. See the difference?
Yeah. Well, the second one then we're a little bit lower, and then a little adjustment up, and now you're right in the sweet spot. And then when we look at your body comps, by the way, that's the perfect example. So this was in 2018. So if we get rid of that, the middle ones, and we compare you to right now. This is about a little bit over 5 years, right? You weigh 203 pounds here, you weigh 208 here, so you're only 5 pounds heavier. Where you've made gain is you had 178 pounds of lean mass here, and you have 197 here. So you've basically added about 19 pounds of lean mass, and at the same time, you've gone from 24.3 pounds of fat to 11.6 pounds of fat. So you've lost about 13 pounds of fat, and that's translated into body fat percentage going from 12 to 5.6. If you think about that, that's like adding over 5 years, 4 pounds, 3.5 pounds of muscle per year. That's hard work.
Yeah.
Anyone who follows you on Instagram, because I follow you, you're always in great shape, knows that you put the time in the gym.
Yeah.
There is not some time where you've ever done some type of crazy bulking phase where you're all of a sudden 220. You're sort of consistently in this 200 to 208 pound range. And then you've just by diet, I imagine by diet, right? Eating clean, living healthy, not skipping workouts, been able to get to the level where you're at right now. And then if we look at your last one, which you were here, this was I think about 2 years ago, a little bit less than 2 years ago, you were in great shape. But even here, from here to here, which is about almost 2 years now, you're about 4.2 pounds more of muscle. That's not some crazy cycle. If you do a crazy cycle, you're gonna gain a lot more than 4 pounds of muscle, right? So that's really just hard work in the gym, refining it, and you've gone from 14 pounds of fat to 2.6. So you've been consistently in shape. And of course, if we look at the one before that, so this would go back to 2019, you're about the same weight as you are right now. You were 193, so about 5.5 pounds less of muscle and about 4.5, 5 pounds more fat. So it's just constantly tweaking and then staying in the zone, and you live your life in a really healthy manner, so you don't have these like big swings and valleys, right? And so I think the proof is in the pudding. If you were doing some type of crazy cycles, we wouldn't have these consistent body composition improvements over the last 3, 4, 5 years.
And you'll see a bigger testosterone level, right?
Exactly. And then we can come back to here with the exception of the second, this was the second labs that we ran where we might have overshot the mark a little bit, downward adjusted the dose, and then you can see right here 721, 826, 866, consistently right in that same range. And for the most part, all of your hormone levels are sort of in that range. So the proof, like I said, it's obvious that by how you look and all of your Instagram posts that you put the time in, you put the effort in, you eat clean, and it also I think is a good story for people to understand what it takes to have the type of body they want, right? Because it's consistency.
There's no magical thing.
There's no.
So even the TRT is not magical, right?
No. Well, I always say, in golf, there's a saying you can't buy a better golf game, because if you take Tiger Woods and you give him the worst set of clubs in the world, the guy is still going to be an amazing golfer, right? If you take me, I haven't golfed in about, I don't know, 5 years. You can give me the most expensive set of clubs in the world, and my game is going to still be awful.
Yeah, you're right.
I say the same thing when it comes to hormones. You can't buy a better hormone game. Like, you could spend more money. There are some things that people can do that can give them a slight advantage, but they still have to put the time and effort, and they have to eat the right diet. For example, if you're not eating enough protein, how are you going to build muscle? I'm sure that you tell all of your clients that you have to eat a certain number of macros,
Of protein,
protein,
fats,
exactly,
carbs,
like a good blend,
Yeah.
and how much they weigh, and 1 gram. I mean, the rule of thumb, I think, is usually about like 1 gram of protein. You know better than me, but 1 gram of protein per
course.
pound,
Yeah.
and then if you're trying to
usually
add,
it's 2 grams per kilos, so it's almost the same, 2.2.
exactly.
So,
And then if you want to gain size, right, you're probably telling people like you did, gain it slowly over time.
Yeah.
I still see some old school guys that are going through the bulking phase and they get really fat. They spend 3-4 months.
It was in the 80s, right?
It's crazy, man. I see it, and they're destroying themselves.
Nobody does that. I think now it's, but back in the day, in the 80s, yeah, some bodybuilder does that. They were fat as.
I had a guy in my old building who still was living by that,
Yeah.
and he would do this almost every year. He would gain about 30 pounds, and he's a shorter guy.
Every year?
Yeah, well, he would like do a bulking phase, and then after the bulking phase was done, he would try to cut,
Yeah.
and he would spend 6-7 months. I think anyone can see crazy results in a short period of time if they do something, crazy, in terms of lifting heavy or eating a lot. But they ultimately always go back to where they started because they're not building a lifestyle.
And then they get stressed, and they
Exactly.
stop. So yeah.
So yeah, it's my phone keeps going off in the sideline, brightening up. But yeah, it's one of the things that I think we all deal with in the fitness industry is that people have unrealistic goals and then they try to overshoot the mark as opposed to having just a plan, methodical plan, doing the same things every single day. And that's what you're a perfect example of how to deliver results. Because to gain 19 pounds in 5 years is really, I think, great progress. But it's also only 4 pounds a year. On the other things, I mean, the one area like DHEA, so if we come to here, we have the steroidogenic pathway.
Okay.
DHEA is a precursor to testosterone. So this is a supplement. I think that you might have taken in the past, but it's a supplement you could take.
I take it a little bit. Yeah.
You take it consistently?
Yeah. Maybe it's not a good brand.
It could be, yeah, maybe your body isn't metabolizing it well, but you were also lower when you first started. So you were 44 here,
Okay.
and your levels have
I think
improved.
I take 50 milligrams a day. That's
maybe
weird.
50 is a lot. So, you could be a little bit better there. The FSH and LH, so that's follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. Those are the 2 hormones that your body uses to produce testosterone. Of course, those are going to be low because you're taking testosterone.
Yeah. So that's normal in my
So
case.
100% that's normal. But you do you supplement with the vitamin D?
A little bit, but yeah, in Florida it's sunny, so.
Listen, here's one you have to think about, okay? Our ancestors spent all day outside.
Okay.
We go to the pool, you spend 20 minutes,
So it's not enough.
No, of course, 200, 300 years ago, we were outside working in fields.
I have to take more vitamin D.
Yeah, even though you have obviously you have really good color, so it looks like you got some sun, but, just take a supplement. At least you're in the healthy range.
Okay.
And, there were a lot of data studies that came out during COVID that people who had 96% of deaths were people had really deficient levels of vitamin D. So it's really important for immune system. And then it also supports hormone production. So it's really important to have that level be a little bit higher. Your estrogen is fine. That's
because I don't take anastrozole anymore.
Yeah,
but you think it's okay? I don't need it?
No, 100%. If we control testosterone levels and we're not doing abusive amounts, then why do we need to block the conversion of estrogen? And I think that I mentioned to you earlier, but we have some young guys that have come to us for different reasons, and they'll have really high levels of testosterone and they'll have really high levels of estrogen. And they don't have gyno, they have no negative side effects, they have great libidos. When they work out, they lose body fat. So they don't have any type of symptoms, anything wrong with them when they have higher levels of estradiol. But, there used to be this misconception that it was unhealthy to have high levels. Now we're learning that it's just a conversion process that goes on, and guys feel better when those levels are allowed to sort of float relative to testosterone. testosterone. So yeah, we try to not have our clients take that. Every once in a while you run into someone who may need it, but that is the exception now versus the rule. So no, the 39, even by the way, so when you look at your lab, if I can find it, you know, you're just right on the edge of the upper end of the range.
Yeah, so
and we don't love these ranges, you know, what we think, I mean, I don't know if this will ever be looked at. They may be dealing with a bad data set for estradiol because they don't run in general estradiol for young healthy men. It's, you know, it seems to me that they run estrogen levels more when guys have issues later on in life when they don't have really good hormone levels. So who knows if they started running this, you know what would be great, by the way, you want great proactive healthcare in the world, run a hormone panel for everyone starting at 18, and we would start to see when our levels are declining in the 20s, and maybe we could make some adjustments to keep hormone levels up.
Yeah, it would be awesome, but maybe too expensive for the healthcare system, or I don't know.
Well, if we thought about how much disease that we might...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, my mom was in the hospital a lot this year, and what I realized is there's not a lot of healthy people in the hospital. So I think that if we got people healthier, maybe we could reduce, who knows, maybe we could reduce the overall cost.
You're right.
Because we pay millions of dollars when people get really sick, but what if we could avoid a lot of people getting really sick?
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
So yeah, it's an interesting way to think about it, but you know, I think that, you know, you and me, if we had those levels starting at 18, I'm sure maybe in our mid-20s we might see a little lower drop, and if we thought about it, oh, I felt a little bit less energy there. I had a little harder time. I had to work out a little bit more. And then in the early 30s, oh, I was working out a little bit harder there. It wasn't working as much. My libido wasn't quite as much. Then, you know, in the 40s, oh, you know, I'm sure we would just see these little dips, and there's always the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? You know what I like to think about? I used to have to travel a lot for work, and I realized this one time, you don't miss a flight by 15 minutes, you miss it by 1 second.
Yeah.
I was there, I put my foot in the door, and they couldn't close the door, so I got in the flight. But if I didn't put my foot in the door, I missed the flight. I think the same when it comes to working out. You know, when you're in your 30s and 40s and you have low energy, and it's 6 o'clock at night, and you just had dinner, and you go to the couch, and you feel super tired, maybe if you had a little more energy, you would get up off the couch and go to the gym. And I think that there's a little bit of energy that you need to like have that motivation, and that's where I feel like hormones come into play.
That's the starter.
Yeah, like if we have better energy levels, you're sitting on the couch, you're like, okay, I'm rested, now I'm gonna go to the gym. And then, you know, you start doing that habitually, and that's where you start to change your body. And, you know, I also say the other thing that people probably fail to realize is how hard you work in the gym. You know, you can have good hormone levels and sit on the couch and not be in good shape. That's a fact. You know,
I know.
We see it all the time where people come in here and we have to tell them, oh, your hormone levels look pretty good. Maybe you should work out. Maybe you should go to the gym. Like what I will tell you though is interesting. We have never had a guy who will come except for you. You were in pretty good shape, but you were not in as good a shape as maybe you should have been when you had 150. I'm sure if you would have had better, you know, obviously as we improved your levels, you're in better shape, but you were working really, really hard to keep the 12%, right? We had one guy who had like 950, but he was not, for his amount of working out and how he ate, he should have been like 100 pounds overweight, but he was only a little bit overweight. So people with better hormone levels, even when they don't exercise, tend to be in better health and better shape.
Okay.
And then people who have lower levels of hormones usually are in much worse shape. And then we have an outlier like you, who you just worked really hard, even though you were having those low hormone levels to, you know, maintain what you had. So I think that happens quite a bit. But, you know, the most important thing is to, as you say, because it's not, I know I have friends in Spain who say the same. And I've been on a channel with a doctor in Belgium. He has a TRT channel. And we talk about just the focus on testosterone and hormone therapy in Europe doesn't seem to be there like the way that it is in the US. And even here, there's a stigmatism. Like I remember when I first started, because it was, you know, 10 years ago, I didn't want to tell that many people. I would like to tell my best friends and say, hey, if you're dragging, you need to go help yourself. But I wasn't just telling random people.
You were shy about that.
Of course, because I thought, wow, what if someone thinks that I'm on, you know, testosterone and, you know, you're a little bit sensitive. After a while, I just got used to it, and I'm like, what do I care? You know, I'm a middle-aged guy that who cares if I'm on testosterone? Because I also know if you don't go to the gym and put the effort in, it doesn't matter what you're taking, you're not going to be in great shape.
You're right.
So
that's a good point.
It still requires work, and what we do, it's similar to what you do, right? You give your clients a tool set, and so if they listen to your advice and they do what you tell them to do, they can get in better shape. And it's the same. Like I feel like we give our clients the tools people.
But if they don't do the work, that's
Of course.
it's not work.
They'll feel better, but they're not going to have the body they
Yeah.
want. And then those people that do the work, you know, some people like me, you feel like you were given a second chance at life and you're like, oh my God, now I can work out again like I was 20 and I can get in that great shape, except for I'm smarter now. I eat better. I don't go out as much. I sleep better. I have a
More
more
energy,
Yeah.
and you feel better also for your work. Now when you are in a good energy, you can have more idea, you know.
Exactly.
And I feel my business improved since I'm on TRT, you know.
I always say that when you do TRT, you should make money. Whatever money you're spending on TRT or your health, you usually will make back in terms of productivity
Yeah.
and opportunities for
And
work.
mindset.
Of course, you feel better, you have more energy, you get more work done, you're more productive, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm sure you're further along and you have a lot of like people that help you, but I'm sure when you're super busy, you sleep less, but you know, you have a goal.
Especially with a baby.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's better now, but the first 6 months, yeah, it was hard.
How's he doing, man? He's so cute.
Now he's doing great now. He's 9 months and a half.
Wow.
So it flies. Time flies so fast.
That's crazy. The first birthday is coming up. Huh?
I know.
Are you're gonna be in France for the
in
first
October,
birthday?
Yeah. This is why we go back there to, you know, for the first birthday. I think it's better to do it with the family. So it will be awesome.
That's amazing. But yeah, you know, you sleep less, but you have more energy. So net, it's like you feel way more productive and you get a lot more done. That's the other thing. You know, when I first went, I had this. I owned a different business. I felt like I was lethargic. I was doing just enough for that business to
But
have
you stayed in your comfort zone.
Yeah, I didn't work hard. I would always, tomorrow's the day I was gonna work hard. Tomorrow's the day I was gonna
Yeah.
work hard. And I was in this like weird complacency. And then all of a sudden I went on a program and I went from being like 30% body fat to, you know, probably like 14. And then when I got done with that, I'm like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Like, what am I gonna do? I'm like, why am I wasting all this time? And then I think also you start to become healthier. You know, when you start to see the change in your body and change in your mental attitude, you don't want to eat the bad food. You don't want to go out. You know, you really focus on those things that are important and that are all about achieving whatever goals you
and
have
you want
for yourself.
to maximize the whole things, you know.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know, because we talked about this the last time you were here, it's like when you first get into the video editing and you're spending all the late hours and you're doing everything yourself and you're just getting as much done as possible. But it's really rewarding. It's a lot of work. You're sleeping way less.
I know.
But everything that you invested in your health comes back to you times probably 100.
10 times.
You know?
Sometimes people are worried about the creatinine level, and I always told people that if you work out the day before your blood test, it is normal, because it's when you walk out, you have I don't know the name in English, but
More protein. Jessica will be able to tell us. My
Yeah.
PA. We'll ask her when she comes out, like, why do we have the higher levels of creatinine?
because in France, if you do that with a regular doctor,
They freak out, right?
They freak out, and they told you, oh, you have kidney disease, stop protein, stop creatine, stop everything. And sometimes I had to do a kidney scan to make sure that everything was okay. So I did it.
So we can say, listen, anyone who's concerned with creatinine can have cystatin C run, and that's a better indication of kidney disease.
So the AST and ALT is for the
There's the liver.
enzyme liver, right?
Exactly.
So my liver is good, it's fine.
Your liver enzymes are good. Your kidney, as you can always see, you know, some of this you have to remember. I think on the first test you didn't drink enough water, so you always have to worry about whenever you have your labs run. Always make sure that you're properly hydrated, because if you're not properly hydrated, it can cause two issues. It can have your BUN be a little bit higher.
This time I drank 2 glasses of water before the test.
Exactly. So you have to make sure you're not dehydrated. And then what it comes down to when you have that higher creatinine number is, you know, just that you have more muscle mass. And so people that have more muscle mass sometimes going to have higher levels of that. So it's totally normal.
It's normal.
And then if you ever have a concern, the better test to run is the cystatin C. So, you know, you can always have that run. Or if any of your clients ever say that they're concerned, if you run that test, it's a little more
accurate,
definitive, yeah, in
Okay.
terms of whether you have any type of issues.
Okay.
And then your hemoglobin, hematocrit, red blood cell count, all amazing.
Yeah, because it's something that could be high with on TRT, right?
Exactly. Some guys, when they go on testosterone, their body starts producing more red blood cells, and as a result, their blood starts to thicken a little bit, and so you want to prevent that from being too high. So usually we see the trend up. In your cases, you see you were 52.2, then 52.8, then the next test 50, 49, 49. So initially it was a little bit on the high side. You know, where we get more concerned is if someone started at 45, then they're 49, then they're 52. It just means that their body's producing more red blood cells, and a really small percentage of guys have to donate blood. But that's just case by case dependent.
Okay, so if the hematocrit level are too high, you can give blood.
Yeah.
And, it should be on the normal range.
Exactly. You know, a lot of doctors suggest donating blood when the level is past 54. It's not a bad idea to donate blood anyway.
Okay.
So, you know, if you think about it, you know, you're achieving two goals, right? You're giving a little bit back to mankind, and you're
and for yourself.
Yeah, and
So
you're
that's
making your
good.
body work a little bit. So, so yeah, in general, I think that your levels look pretty good. There's obviously more red on the board than we would want, but your levels are still all within lab ranges, and then small little tweaks here and there. But in general, you know, I'm pretty happy. And then, you know, obviously the one thing that we didn't discuss on your levels are how do you feel? And that's one area that we tend to, like, in a way, lose sight of, because we're a lot of times data driven and we want to make sure that numbers are being hit.
Yeah.
But really the most important
we
thing,
only see the level here, but the good thing is, yes, I feel so much better than I was in my 30s or 35. So at 42, I feel much better than before.
it's great, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm sure you feel the same at 42. Maybe when you're younger, you would look at 40-year-olds and think like,
I
oh,
thought
I'm
that
concerned.
at past 40 you get old. You know, back in the day it was like old, and you can train or you know. But I feel so great.
Isn't it crazy? Because I think the same at 53. I used to look at a 53-year-old person and think that when I was younger, older. Now I'm like, I still have 20 to 30 more years of productivity left. Like I'm just getting. I feel like I'm just getting started. I'm sure you feel the same, right?
I think it's a new life. Past 40, it's a new life. Bon, en tout cas, les amis, j'espère que vous aurez apprécié cette vidéo très très longue. Mais tout ça pour vous dire que même si ce sont que des nombres, le plus important, c'est comment vous vous sentez.